Hello, and I'm going to walk you through some of the functionality of our new and improved web application for Insules. So after doing the project milestone with the Java frameworks and JSP, we realized that a lot of the cool features that we wanted to add would be really clunky and difficult using that framework. So I did some research and discovered that the Django web framework for Python was something that's commonly used and pretty quick to pick up on for people. So it was a pretty fun experience for us because we got to learn a couple of new languages and explore how the backend really can interact with the front end. And one of our courses we're taking this semester is very design focused, so we learned a lot about design in that course, and that's something that Deborah was talking about in her video, so I won't steal her thunder. But it was fun to be able to put those pieces together while still using the relational model that we developed early on in the course. So the Atom text editor is an open source editor that I've come to love a lot because it allows me to run my entire web application in one place. This stores all the HTML, all the Python code, and all that kind of good stuff. And Django has a lot of really great things built in. So I'm already running my web server through here. So if I go to my browser, so here's our sort of landing page, which obviously needs a lot of front-end work, but it's something that I put off and now I don't have time. But it's something that I'm definitely going to update in the future. So it tells me that I need to log in. So I can sign up for a new user, but I'm not going to do that right now because then that user won't have any data, which kind of defeats the whole purpose. So I'll log in to Thomas A. Dole. And here is our landing page. So the thing that we found after talking to users that people want to be able to do most readily is actually calculate a dose of insulin for a meal. So that's sort of the first feature that you see here. So how does this calculation actually work? Well, if we go into the code and I go into my insulin here, there's actually a fairly complex Python method here that it has a lot of different functions that essentially Deborah was able to write this up for us because she has experience with this, but based on a lot of factors that the user enters, there's some math that happens and it sort of spits out a number. So let's take a look at those factors before we actually calculate a dose. So if we go over here to the regimen tab, these are all the things that are relevant in the treatment of all right, sorry about that. So still learning about the front end and responsiveness, and my computer is very temperamental when it comes to zooming, and I was just developing this on a much larger screen, so I had to zoom out a little bit. So these are all the factors that are relevant in terms of calculating the insulin dose, and specifically we're looking at these two panels right here. So these numbers are all given by healthcare providers and updated periodically depending on how the patient is doing. These things over here are a little bit more biographical, so the name of the patient, date of birth. A1C is a value that has to do with how consistent a patient's blood glucose level is, and that's something that also changes over time. And then information about the doctor, hospital, etc. But these are the things that we really want to look at because this is what goes into the math. So I'm going to leave everything as is and go back to the home screen and we'll calculate a blood glucose. So we'll say, or excuse me, an insulin dose. So we'll say the blood glucose is 250 and we can leave a comment and say that that's average for now. And the carbohydrates in the meal, let's say we're having a pretty solid meal. We'll have some Italian, so we're going to have 80 carbohydrates. So I hit calculate insulin here. And this spits out what gets calculated by that Python method. Now, sometimes users will want to actually give themselves more or less depending on, any number of factors. So that gives them the opportunity to edit that here. So let's say I'm going to eat a little bit more pizza than I originally thought. So let's go ahead and give myself 9 units instead. So then I can confirm that dosage. And then I look over here and see that in my data glance that's been updated. So this is just hard-coded to show the last 6 calculations, which is somewhat arbitrary, obviously, and in future iterations, that's something that would be nice if it was customizable for users. Another thing that's not great is that the way that this shows the comments, it's a little bit squished. It'd be nice if that was a little bit more responsive, and certainly in the future, if I have more time, that's something that I'll consider. Okay, so with the current treatment regimen, we see that for our dinner, we're going to need, we were suggested to give 8.5, we decided to give 9. So if I go back to the regimen and I change this number, which is the target blood glucose for the day, let's say that I'm being ambitious and I actually want that to go down to 160, and then I update that. If I go back and calculate the same dose, so 250 blood glucose and 80 carbohydrates, now we're going to see, oh, because that one factor changed, now I need more insulin. So I can go ahead and log that and see that it comes up over here. So this is nice for people to be able to have a snapshot of what's been going on lately, but it's not super thorough. So for that, we have this page, which I can't link to because when I tried to do that using Django, it broke everything. So I'm just going to type it in manually up here, and bear in mind that in future iterations, that's something that I'll be able to figure out. Okay, so let's say that we want to see the data from November 29th up through today. All right, so that loads into this very nice bootstrap table that I can't take any credit for. And this is the patient's name. The patient's name is Dave, and we can see the data in order from the furthest time until now, scrolling all the way down. And the reason we don't see anything from November 29th is because I wasn't adding data during that time. So realistically, you would see multiple data points a day for a patient who actually has type 1 diabetes. So those are essentially the functionalities that we've been able to implement. We have the ability to create an account and log in, which automatically generates an instance in our database so that we can use our relational model to relate blood glucoses to a patient. Patients can update their treatment regimen depending on what their doctors tell them, and this information is automatically updated in the database, which is then pulled every time they make a calculation. And calculations are automatically added to the database as well. When then in the logs, patients can select a range of dates that they want to see information from. So things that I would love to be able to add to this in addition to those that I've mentioned, I would love to be able to present the data in a graphical way, which is something that I am pretty close to doing and hopefully will make happen in the next couple of days just because I am pretty excited about this work and I want to see it actually function. But there are also lots of things that could be customizable that aren't currently, that are things that users sort of expect from applications. Certainly myself as a user, I expect that. But I am pretty excited about what we've been able to accomplish, especially considering how crude our JSP sort of launching point came from. Switching over to this framework and being able to use things that we learned about HTML and Bootstrap and CSS allowed us to create an application that is attractive to look at, but also functional. And I hope to be able to further improve this as we continue on. Thank you very much for everything this semester. Deborah and I both really appreciate it. And thank you for all of your help giving us the skills that we need to make this awesome product.